Hi guys, so my love and enjoyment of painting miniatures just keeps getting bigger and stronger every time I paint them. And obviously these are the ones that I painted about 7 months ago, and this is kind of when things really changed for me, as obviously I tried out the slapchop painting technique. Something very simple, very easy, something that everyone can do. I sort of turned from being someone who hated painting miniatures and, well, never really painted them, to someone who now paints them every day. So the slapchop painting technique, it's very simple, very easy, and it's one of these cases of it's a great way of getting your miniatures from being grey to being, well, tabletop ready. But I've always said that it can obviously be improved on, and it's a great sort of base and a start to painting miniatures. So that's why I've gone and got another set of these lovely orcs, the old kill team. I bought these from Chaos Cards. There's a link in the description, guys, because you use my discount code and you can get 5% off any order over £30 on their miniatures. So yeah, obviously I love orcs, so I wanted to get the whole set again, just to see how I can improve on what I've done before. Obviously bases, yeah, don't need the bases. All these little stickers, I've got a drawer full of these. I tend not to use them too much, definitely not on the orcs anyway. I think I've only ever used stickers on the Space Marines on their shoulder pads. So starting off, obviously got my sprues, need some glue to, well, glue all the bits together. I love using the Tamiya extra thin stuff as well. I kind of like the brush more than anything. Some good old snips. As you can see, these are pretty old and tacky, but well, they get the job done, so not going to throw them away. And then a good old blade just to sort of clean up any of the sprue sort of cut marks or any mould lines that might be there. And good old instructions. Yeah, sometimes I use these, sometimes I don't. Generally, whenever I don't, that's when I run into problems and then I go back to using it. So yeah, we're going to use this, even though these are fairly simple miniatures. We are going to use the instructions. So good old Games Workshop. This is where the fun really begins. If you're new to this sort of thing, you'll find, well, the numbers, they don't always sort of correspond to where they should be, as in they don't follow any pattern. So I've got numbers here from 110 down to 26. There's a few 40s in here. Yeah, there's bits of all sorts. And then it's just a good old case of, well, cutting and snipping all the bits out. And obviously just keep doing this, and yeah, keep cutting, keep snipping, keep cutting. And I did kind of film me, well, cutting every bit out, and thought it'd be quite funny to keep all of it in. But then when I was editing it, I kind of got bored of the snipping and cutting. So yeah, I've taken all that out. But as you can see, there's a lot of bits to cut out. And then once they are all cut out, then I generally go through and, well, clean them all up a little bit. And this is easily done with the blade. With the larger, sort of chunkier bits, I try and sort of cut them off. And then once they cut off, then using the other sort of the edge and scraping it, just to obviously then get it sort of a lot neater and a lot tidier. And obviously the idea here is just to get it nice and smooth. Yeah, practice makes perfect with this. It is a case of just taking off a little bit at a time rather than trying to sort of gouge out too much at once, as you don't want to sort of injure the the bit of plastic or possibly yourself. So there's a nice big chunk there, so that's going to get cut first. And say once the bit's cut out, then it is just a case of scraping it. But the good thing with these this plastic is it is very soft, which you'll be able to see very shortly here. So the barrels, to cut out the barrels or drill the barrels, yeah, this is up to you guys. Some people do, some people don't. Generally I do, just because I think it does look a little bit neater and nicer. But rather than drill the barrels out, as you can see, I like using the pointy bit of my blade, because I can just stick that in, give it a couple of turns, and yeah, job done. Nice and simple, quick and easy way of doing it, and I always get them nicely, well, in the centre, doing it this way. So that's all the parts cleaned up and ready to glue together, and this is obviously where using the proper sort of cement glue for plastic is best, rather than super glue, because with the cement glue, it actually sort of dissolves one bit of plastic into the other, which is great because it means you can obviously bit of glue on one, push it into the other, and yeah, rather than just sort of being stuck together, they sort of dissolve into each other, which generally means you don't get to see any sort of lines at all, which is which is pretty cool. And I say, using this little brush, it's nice and neat, you don't get glue everywhere. And the other joy about using cement glue is if you get it on your fingers, it doesn't make your fingers stick to anything, as this glue is, well, it's only good for plastics. And this is where following the instructions that are obviously in the booklet does make this job a lot easier, because then you'll always get the bits glued to the right bit. I say sometimes I have tried to glue sort of miniatures together without following the instructions, and yet sometimes you can come a cropper, because certain times, well, one bit needs to be glued before another bit, otherwise you'll end up well, not being able to glue bits together. Anyway, I'm waffling there. So the last little bit to glue in, obviously the head. I say I just love the look of orcs. I think they're fantastic little miniatures, and they're always so more vibrant in colour than anything else. So here we go. Here's my original one, say painted 7 months ago. Very happy with it, and I say this is what changed my attitude completely in regards to painting miniatures. And obviously we're starting off with the good old slap chop painting technique, but guys, stick around to the end because I'm going to start off doing the slap chop, but then I do add a few extra bits, well, obviously at the end to make it better. So if you are new to slap chop, yeah, simply it's a case of getting your miniature, priming in black, and then dry brushing in grey. I use cheap poster paints, and normally I use a cheap brush. But those lovely people over at Army Painter have sent me, well, they've sent me quite a lot of goodies recently, and one of them is, yeah, a proper little sort of dry brush, which I'm going to use here. So initially, I have always been using the dry brush technique, putting it on some sort of kitchen towel, and then rubbing it off to obviously get rid of most of the paint so it's nice and dry. But I've watched a couple of videos recently where people have said that's not a very good idea because you get sort of fibres and bits and pieces in the brush. You're better off rubbing it off on something like a bit of wood, or even maybe a bit of plastic, just to obviously get the paint off so it is a nice dry brush. So but unfortunately I can't remember who I watched. Well, I watched quite a few people really, otherwise I would mention their names here. So yes, I used that bit of wood just sort of rub the paint off, and yeah, it worked really well. So as you can see, there's only a little bit of paint on here, which is obviously why it's kind of called dry brushing. I apologise now guys, I do say the word obviously quite a lot. The main reason for this is because when I edit these videos, I, well, obviously put it all together and then talk over the top. So as I'm talking, I'm kind of thinking sometimes it is obvious what I'm saying because you can see clearly in the video what I'm doing. So yeah, apologies, or turn it into a game if you want to sort of see how many times I say the word obviously. So yeah, doing the dry brushing with white, you can now see, I love doing the dry brushing with white because it really does pick up all the lovely definition that's in a miniature. Especially when obviously you prime these in black, then you kind of lose everything. But then when you do the dry brushing, you can really see all the lovely textures, or in this case the lovely muscles on this dude. And yeah, I think this is obviously a great start. Guys, I can't help saying obviously now, it's getting ridiculous. I will do my best not to say it. So yeah, this dry brush, yeah, it was awesome. I know in the past I have said sometimes having expensive gear or having good gear isn't necessary. Just get the cheapest brushes you can. And whilst I do still believe that when you're starting out, having better brushes when you are getting better does make things better. And yeah, you certainly get more enjoyment out of knowing you are using a brush that is, well, right for the job. So this is how you say where we're going to start now. We're going to do the slap chop painting technique. We've done half of it. Now it's just a case of getting the, well, the Army Painter speed paint is what I normally use, but I do have some contrast paints. And as you can see, I have a lot of greens, which is just lovely because, well, orcs are generally green. So I've got a nice choice of greens here to pick from. I did do a video recently where I did an orc team and I painted them in, well, a whole variety of different greens, and they look great because obviously it made them look more natural being different greens. But I think my favourite one is this one, which is Ghillie Dew. So guys, because I am obviously painting a lot more miniatures these days, I am now going to go through and, well, sort of put up on the screen exactly every paint that I use, just in case you wanted to follow along or you see me using the colour paint and you think, oh yeah, that'd be perfect for whatever it is you're painting. So yeah, I am going to do my best now to yeah, to sort of show every colour or every paint that I use in the miniatures that I'm painting. And this is where painting has become so easy for everyone. Yeah, obviously contrast paints, Army Painter speed paints, green stuff dipping inks, Vallejo Express colours, whichever paints you use. Yeah, these are a big game changer because obviously they do everything for you. You get the highlights, the shadows, the normal colour, all out of one sort of pot and one application from the brush. As you can see in his muscles there, yeah, it's just perfect. It is just so easy to do. Everyone can do this. And so this is a great way of turning your grey plastic into something for tabletop ready and something to be happy with as well. So yeah, there is no need now to have well, the piles of opportunity that I know a lot of us do have. And I am getting very good now that I do pretty much paint most things as I get them. So this next colour is Grim Black. Yeah, what I am doing now as well is rather than doing sort of anything that's metal in, well, in a silver colour, I am sort of experimenting and doing them in different sort of shades of black and grey. And this is where my enjoyment of painting really is shining through now, as yeah, I want to try more sort of different things. Rather than just sort of chucking on normal colours, I'm doing things a little bit different. Obviously I watch a lot of other people, just like you guys watch people paint, and yeah, see if there's any sort of tips and tricks I take from them. So yeah, with his claw here, say in the past I would have just painted this silver and that would have been it. Probably would have thrown a wash maybe over the top. Yeah, but this time I've gone for the Gravelord Grey. Yeah, and then I'm probably going to do some sort of like silver, well, highlighting on the edges later. But initially I'm going to paint the with this dude exactly how I painted the last sort of orc knob, and that is to get obviously all the contrast paints on. And then yeah, later on I'm going to go over and do some things I've never done before really. So yeah, stick around for that, guys. So I'm using Magic Blue for his cloak. One thing I will say, obviously I've got the Army Painter Speed Paint 2.0, and like most paints I find, there's some that you sort of prefer more than others. But the great thing with the Army Painter ones is there's so many different variations of blue, the greens, the browns, the yellows, the reds, that you will find one that you kind of prefer to others. Just like with the brown here, the hardened leather, I think just goes on really well and looks like a lovely brown, and certainly definitely a leathery sort of look. But yeah, there are a couple of browns that I think are a bit like meh. So yeah, you're definitely going to have your favourites with them. But say that's the great thing about having so many to choose from. That yeah, there's definitely going to be some there that you are going to be very, very happy with, and certainly will use a whole lot more than the others. And this is where having quite a few different browns to choose from certainly helps, as I'm now using the warrior skin. Yeah, for any sort of like the buckles and straps and bits and pieces. So yeah, not really the buckles, definitely the straps. You know what I mean. So yeah, it's great that you can use different colours. Obviously I could probably mix colours together to get different shades, but the fact they're already done and in bottles is just awesome. So now using a bit of blood red for, well, parts of the gun. And so this is where I think my enjoyment of painting certainly does sort of show, in that I am now spending more time on each miniature. Even though the slapchop paint technique is, say, incredibly fast just for getting the base colours on and, well, getting your miniature ready for the tabletop. But this is where I am now wanting to go that extra bit. And yeah, I am picking out more and more bits on a model to paint. Whereas in the past, my guns would have been pretty much, well, all silver or all sort of just black with silver edges. So as you can see, I'm using the Fire Drake for his pants. Well, this is one of those colours where it looks really light, or it should look light on the bottle, but actually comes out quite dark. So just be aware, not all paints are, well, how they look on the outside. And yeah, that's him pretty much done. So he's been slap chopped, and this is where, well, in the past I would have left him, as I'm definitely happy with how he looks. But yeah, I'm going to take him that stage further and do, well, more details on him. So using a little bit of this Flash Gits yellow. So say I do have quite a mixture of paints from, well, a variety of companies. So yeah, so using this bit of yellow, I just want to add some more detail to his sort of power glove chopping thingy here. And that is putting the, well, the good old hazard stripes on. Just because, well, these make things look more dangerous when they have sort of warning bits on them. And the other thing I have sort of noticed or started doing recently, and that is stippling. I think this is called stippling painting. Again, you guys know better than me, because I don't really know terms of things, or if I did, I kind of forget them because, well, memory like a sieve man here. But yeah, stippling. So rather than just sort of basic painting, you kind of like just stipple bits on. So this is what I was saying earlier about the how I'm now doing sort of metal looking bits. Yeah, rather using blacks or greys to sort of like get the major colour onto whatever it is, and then just going around with a bit of silver and yeah, touching up the highlights and adding some sort of like scratch marks in as well. And I just think this looks really good. As I say, it's something new that I'm doing, but that's the joy of painting. It is a case of experimenting, trying new things and seeing if something works for you, and if obviously you like it, then you do it, and if you don't, well, at least you had a go. But yeah, so obviously like you guys watching me paint, there's a lot of people out there that I watch, a whole array of different sort of styles and looks. But the good thing is, you watch someone, and even if you picked up one thing, it's worth watching them. But definitely more importantly though, guys, I think it is just a case of trying things out, because you never really know if you're going to like it or enjoy it or like the end result until you sort of give it a go yourself, and then you may well do something and then adapt it a little bit, which is great. And that's what I think I love about this hobby, that we can all share with things with each other, and yeah, we share things and then we adapt them and then change them. So this stuff, yeah, I only just started using this stuff, Dirty Down Rust. Absolutely love it. So before I started enjoying painting miniatures, whenever I built anything, yeah, I would paint it in a Rust style because I just love Rust. It was an easy thing to do. But yeah, this Dirty Down Rust is just awesome on, well, you can use it on large terrain obviously, but I find it's really nice on small bits, just to add it here and there. So when this stuff dries, yeah, it just looks awesome. Obviously it goes on really, really well, but yeah, when it dries, it does. Yeah, I can't say how much I love this enough. It is just gorgeous stuff. And there you go. So you're looking at his claw. That is one rust bucket, and so simply done. So talking about the stippling again, this is where I'm sort of taking this to another sort of level. Again, I'm really happy with how he looks, but I really am enjoying the whole painting process. So yeah, definitely want to try out new things. So I'm using a nice vibrant green here, just to sort of add highlights to this dude. And again, it's trying new things. So I'm doing a stippling effect on the raised areas of his lovely large muscles. Yeah, just to make them stand out even more. And yeah, I was throughout the whole process of this, I was just loving it. And this is probably one of the longest painted miniatures I've done. Although that didn't sound very good in English, but you know what I mean. I spent more time on this guy than I've ever spent on any of my miniatures before. Just because I was really enjoying it. I was loving it. And it did get to a stage where it was a case of, no, I need to stop now. Otherwise, yeah, I could just keep going and going. But this stippling effect, yeah, certainly enjoying it. Hopefully I'll get better at it. But yeah, no, absolutely loved painting this dude. And say, now doing edges. Obviously I need to get a bit softer with my edges, but that's one good thing about orcs. Their bits and pieces don't need to be too neat, because well, they kind of bash things about. I mean, orcs are the best kit bashers out there, or scratch bashing and all the rest of it. So yeah, his weapon can look a little bit like it's been through the wars. But yeah, so doing a bit of edge highlighting. This is something again never really done. Yeah, back to stippling. I just can't get enough of this stippling effect. So yeah, his jacket looked a little bit too, I don't know, too neat, too normal. So I was kind of contemplating making it look a little bit more camouflaged. So that's why I thought I'd have a go at doing a little bit of stippling on top of that as well. And again, just to give it a bit more sort of texture to the look. But more than anything, I think it's because I was just enjoying it. I was just enjoying stippling. I was enjoying this figure. And yeah, I love painting miniatures now, guys. I mean, yeah, I think you've probably got that from how I talk. But yeah, there he is. He's done, and I just love him. I think he's awesome. I was really pleased with my previous orc, which was just obviously normal slap chopped. But this dude really has gone to yeah, the next level. And I certainly could have spent a good few more hours just sort of touching little bits up here and there. But yeah, I think sometimes you need to know when to sort of call it quits. So as you guys all know, yeah, I like to use clear bases, just because when I use these guys, unless I'm making a diorama of them, obviously, then I'll make a proper base. But when I use these guys, I like to see whatever sort of terrain floor is underneath. And yeah, he just looks awesome. I love this guy. So I can't wait to paint the rest of his team in the same sort of manner. But again, I might do different variations of the green, just to make them look a little bit different. So yeah, here's my previous guy from 7 months ago, which again, I'm really happy with how he turned out. I certainly enjoyed painting him, but I did have a lot more fun with this new dude, and he definitely has a lot more going on, I think. Just because obviously spending an extra bit of time doing the extra bit of layering, stippling, highlighting, and yeah, absolutely loved it. And I hope you guys enjoyed it too. So let me know in the comments what you thought about this dude, and yeah, if you think he does look better than just sort of basic slap chop painting. I certainly do. He definitely seems more vibrant in colour, and the main thing here is I really enjoyed painting him. So guys, big shout out and thank you to all my lovely patrons and Chaos Cards for helping support the channel. It really does mean so much to me. There's another video on here, guys. If you can give that a click, watch that. That'd be much appreciated as well. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You guys take care. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.